People who have been the victim of attempted murder and, by pure chance, survived. Tell your story. I was 14 at the time, playing with a cat in the garage. It was in November, so it was already dark at 5 p.m. I didn't hear the door open. Someone grabbed me by my ponytail and started dragging me outside. Then I got hit in the head with a brick and passed out. As I was dragged to the other side of the house, I think it happened at that point, I was stabbed in the left side of my stomach. That's probably what brought me to consciousness because my mom said that as they were sitting in the kitchen with my brother and sister, they heard me screaming. They ran out to the front yard and saw me bleeding in the driveway outside the house. They called 911, and I had 12 stitches in 2 rows. I also had a severe concussion and a spinal cord injury. For a week, I couldn't eat and hardly slept. They never found who did it. Seriously. 3 men drugged me and kidnapped me. I woke up lying on the floor. One of them was tearing my clothes and trying to pull off my orthopedic boot. My leg was broken. I tried to push him away, but he started hitting my head against the floor and I lost consciousness. I woke up in the afternoon. I was lying naked in a dumpster in a pool of my own blood. I don't know how I managed to get out of there and find the nearest policeman, because right after that, I lost consciousness again. The next time I regained consciousness was in the hospital. I had 52 stitches in my head and 78 in and around my genitals and chest. The doctor said I had the worst rape injuries she had ever seen in her life. The doctors said the fact that I survived is a miracle, and they don't know how I did it. The people who did it have never been found. Now, I am a psychologist, and I work with people in traumatic and crisis situations, as well as with those who have post-traumatic syndrome. I cannot be broken. Edit. Damn, I didn't even expect to get this much feedback. I woke up and thought my Reddit notifications were just nuts. I'm a little stunned. I honestly have no words, but thank you guys, you're amazing. And those who say I'm lying or just want attention, suck my metaphorical balls. I sat in a bar with my medical friend until closing time. When we came out, we saw a girl lying in a snowdrift by a telephone pole who had just been hit by a car. We immediately rushed over to her to try to do something to help her, and someone nearby was already calling 911. I couldn't do anything because I didn't even have any medical training, but I couldn't leave either. I was really worried. Then I turned around for a second and heard people start screaming. I turned back around and see a minivan driving into us, standing near this girl. Everyone rushed to the sides, but I didn't make it. He hit me when I tried to run away, then rear-ended me again, then went forward and ran me over a 3rd time. Then it turned out that the guy was on drugs and alcohol and had gotten into a fight with the girl's boyfriend. I looked just like him, so he thought I was that dude. I'm not telling this to make you feel sorry for me, but it's been 9 years, and I still have a bunch of health problems to this day, and my life has been going downhill since then. I guess my story is in the theme of the track. Edit. For anyone wondering what happened to that guy, the whole situation was seen by a cop who was off duty that day, and he wrote down his license plate numbers. The guy was arrested 20 minutes later and charged with attempted murder and several other counts. Because he pleaded guilty, he was only given 3 years in prison. By the way, he had drunkenly killed someone else a few years before that murder. Honestly, I can't get my head around why he was given such an insignificant sentence. When we were kids, my sister was friends with a girl who seemed kind of mean to me. She was always trying to bully my little brother, and I would stand up for him. I was 8 at the time, and she was 10. And one day we were all swimming in the lake together. I swam right up to the boys where it was really deep. I really shouldn't have done that because I was too young. And she kept acting weird and swimming towards me with this, weird laugh. Then she pushed me away from the wooden post that I was holding onto, and I was scared and swam back. But she caught up with me from behind and pushed me under the water. I did not immediately realize that she was trying to drown me, but after the third rough push, I had a moment of insight. For a brief moment, everything felt like it was in slow motion. I relaxed my body to go deeper under the water, swam under her, and surfaced behind her. Then I grabbed her by the hair and pushed her face into the water, my feet on her back so she couldn't dive out. I waited until she stopped kicking before I let go. I waited silently, preparing for her to do something in response, but she looked really scared and just swam back to shore. My sister had noticed by then that the girl was strange. I told her everything, and together we went up to her to demand an explanation. She looked confused and said in a monotone voice, "I'm sorry. I didn't know it would come out like this." It wasn't until I replayed her words in my head that I realized what she meant. "I'm sorry I tried to drown you. I only realized it was a terrible thing to do when I almost drowned myself." My husband and I live right above our workplace. At 3 in the morning, we got a call from security. They said that a motion sensor had gone off, but only one, and in a strange place. We thought it was a mouse, but decided to go out anyway to see what was up. My husband ended up coming face to face with a burglar who was trying to escape through a broken window. When he saw my husband, he climbed back into the building and I started dialing 911. Then we heard wild noise and rumbling. There was some chaos going on inside. This thief, like a monkey, climbed over the 2-foot iron gate, smashed 2 thick glass doors, and ran out into the street again. My husband, who was in the mood for a rampage, rushed after him, knocked him down, and pinned him to the ground. Don't forget that I had been running back and forth in just shorts and a tank top the whole time, and recounting the whole thing to 911. And then, when I almost caught up with my husband and stood on the road about 5 meters away from him, a minivan came whizzing around the corner. It had the thief's girlfriend as a driver on the lookout, and luckily I didn't hear it because I was distracted by the license plates. They were written in some cute but hard-to-read font, not like our state's. But then she yelled, "Get the fuck off him or I'll run over your chick!" Then she went from words to action. The audio and videotapes I had to review before the trial were horrifying. I had almost completely suppressed those moments in my memory and really forgot how close I was to the car. Anyway, she pointed the car at me, and I, realizing what was about to happen, covered my face with my hands and bounced a couple of feet off the road. Next thing I know, he jumps in the van and they're off. But he got blood on my husband, and eventually, thanks to DNA and a license plate number I partially memorized, they couldn't get away with it. They're both in jail now. By the way, the court proceedings suck. I was traveling by train in Eastern Europe. I was running out of money, and although I had been warned not to travel alone in second class, I decided not to splurge on a seat in first class. I was alone in a 6-person compartment. As it turned out later, choosing the unoccupied compartment was a mistake and a very stupid decision on my part. So, at some point the train stopped and a very drunk man entered the car. He headed for my compartment, and apparently because I looked like his ex-wife, attacked me. If this station wasn't on the border, he would have killed me, for sure. Luckily, there were border guards from both countries on the train, and although I couldn't scream, the door was open. So 6 men in uniform rushed to him and saved my life. I spent some time in the hospital, but eventually made a full recovery. During the trial, a policeman asked me if I wanted to punch that man while he and his buddies were holding him down. I thought he was joking, so I joked back, "No, but you can take the initiative." Turns out they were serious about it and were ready to beat him up. But I stopped them. They were very offended that one of the locals dared to attack a young tourist from the USA. They were furious because they have a lot of people who depend on tourism. Someone I thought was my best friend decided that my wife and I were too perfect a couple. which means it's all staged, and I'm 100% abuser. One time he came to our house. I cooked a lovely dinner. We had a good time, drinking and singing to karaoke. I stepped back into the kitchen to put the glasses away, then came back and leaned on the couch. My friend was standing a little to the left behind me. Then I heard a thud and felt a hell of a pain in the top of my head. It turned out he had picked up a bottle of whiskey from the table and smashed it right over my head. I didn't realize what the fuck that was at all. Then I noticed the blood starting to flow. I didn't want to get it all dirty, so I went into the kitchen. The guy was just walking back and forth, talking shit. I was about to pull out my gun. It was lying nearby, but realized that I was inadequate. Soon, the friend left. I ended up with a severe concussion and still have a lot of side effects from it. Since that moment in my life, there was a second goal in my life to survive this freak, to then shit on his grave. If you're from our area, you're probably already aware of this story. Anyway, I was at an end of the school year graduation party, quickly got drunk to the point of passing out, and I was driven home early. Later at the same party, another student stabbed 5 people to death. As it turned out, he had mental problems, schizophrenia, and thought everyone there were werewolves, us vampires who wanted him dead. Eventually, he was found responsible for the crime, but was not put behind bars.